It's time to bring our meeting to order here. First thing on the agenda is to welcome our new member, Mr. Woodman. Appreciate you joining our esteemed body. Did everybody have a chance to look at last week's agenda? And approve the minutes? Mr. Edge approves, and Mr. Manny seconds the motion. All right, we'll start. Huh? Yeah.
Right hand.
Oh. Everybody approves of it? Okey-doke. All right, let's move on down the list here. We've had one that's been taken off our list. That's, we'll start off, I guess, should I go ahead and read the introduction?
Sure.
Okay. It's ZV 4451 at 4316 10th Street, St. Simons Island. Consider a request for a variance to Glenn County zoning ordinance section 701 to allow for an encroachment into the side and rear yard setbacks for a pool. The property is zoned R6 one-family residential and located at 4316 10th Street, St. Simons Island, parcel ID 0403083. Jeff Rentz, agent for East Beach SSI LLC, who is the owner applicant.
Maurice Postal, Planning and Zoning Division. We received a written request yesterday from Mr. Rentz, the owner's attorney, to defer the application until the September 10th meeting. He had received the written public comment that I sent you all yesterday, and based on those concerns, he wants to try to remedy some of those issues and work with staff and come back next month if necessary.
Okay. All right, so do we have to do anything about that? We don't vote on that or anything, do we?
You do have to make a motion and vote on it, on the
A
deferral.
motion to defer, okay. I need to get a motion.
I'll make a motion, we defer it till the September 10th meeting.
Okay, a second? All in favor?
I'd like some discussion before we vote.
Oh, by all means.
The fact that the public comments he's referring to has nothing to do with the substance of the request and the variance. So I'm trying to understand why he's asking for a deferment. He wants to go, if that's why we have public forum, someone happened to not be able to make it or chose not to come because of COVID, whatever the situation might have been. So their public comment is no different than being here. So and I'm learning. So are you saying procedurally, if someone here is coming before the board and there's public comment, and the person doesn't like the public comment, or feels that that's going to sway us in the way against that person who's asking for the variance, that then the person could stand up and say, I'd like to defer it?
Well, I think
I don't understand procedurally how he's able to do that when it has nothing to do with the variance.
Well, I think in this case, what he's saying is he may be able to remedy the situation where the variance won't even be necessary. So he's going to try to work with staff over the next month.
But when I read the public comments, it had nothing to do with remedying. The guy sending the public comment wasn't saying, oh yeah, I own the alley, I'll give you the extra footage, or I'll do this or I'll do that. I thought it had something to do with, I don't want the swimming pool because of the lights,
Right.
those kinds of things. But that has nothing to do with us in terms of Glenn County ordinance for variance of wanting to take a piece of an alley that was already denied as part of an abandonment. So I feel a little betrayed in terms of serving here, and it's no big deal, but leaving my house, going to try to figure out the property, going back home, looking at the documents again, going back out again, as I told you, because I couldn't find the alley that's in question, and then going back out. And so it's no big deal, but it's like, okay, so I'm investing 40 miles of driving, 2.5 hours of my time, and then someone doesn't like public comment, so they have the right to defer. That's, AJ, that's where I'm not feeling comfortable with the situation. I just wanted to speak that and put it out.
Okay.
I don't think it has, the deferment has anything to do with the information for the variance. Nothing changes on this document that we have before us. Thank you for letting me say that.
Any other comments? What is the, I guess, the protocol is exactly what they've done, is they deferred it. We just didn't get a chance to vote on it.
Right. The applicants requested or deferral and giving the board the chance to vote on it. You can vote it down if not. The lawyer isn't present, but I can certainly call him and tell him to come here. But he's requested deferral, like I said, to try to possibly not have to do the variance.
Oh, yeah, relocate the
He
pool.
could build a tiny pool
You what?
within setbacks.
Right.
So that may end up being what's happening. He's just,
So he'll probably come back with a change on his request,
Or he may not need to
or he
come
may
back.
not even
Right,
need the
either
variance,
way.
is what he's saying, so,
right. He said he wants to try to work with staff to address concerns,
okay.
so.
Okay. Well, that being said, should we go ahead with our vote? All in favor of deferral? All not? Have a dissenter. Okey-doke. On to the first item on the agenda, ZV number 4384, 4314 13th Street, St. Simons Island. Consider request for a variance from Glenn County zoning ordinance section 701 to allow for an encroachment into the side yard setback. The property is zoned R6 and is located at 4314 13th Street, St. Simons Island, parcel ID 04-02986. Freddie Crenshaw and Helen Crenshaw, owners and applicants. This, as you might remember, was deferred from the July 9th meeting. All right, hear from staff on this.
All right, Eli Zarka, Planning and Zoning. As you said, this is an item that was deferred at our previous meeting for a variance into the side yard setback located at 4314 13th Street. The consider a request for variance to Glenn County zoning ordinance section 701 to allow for an encroachment into the side yard setback. The property is zoned R6. The required side yard setback is 7 feet. The applicant has an existing house there. They are planning on doing an addition to the rear and to the back right side of the property and moving the AC unit as a result to the side into the setback.
This application.
Here is a survey of the property. It is not changed since the last meeting. The yellow arrow shows where the AC unit currently exists and where the planned addition is supposed to go, or at least where they have planned for it to go. The red arrow indicates where they would like to move it to move it away from the addition because of that replacing the AC. That is just an aerial image of that of those locations. And again, just pictures of where that would be physically. The yellow arrow being obviously where the AC unit currently is, and the red arrow being where they would like to put it. You can see where the existing unit is on the bottom right picture on the right side, where that fencing is. And that is a picture from 13th Street looking at the alleyway with the applicant's house being on the left side. You cannot see quite where they want to put this as it's behind the trees and shrubbery there, but it is on the left side towards the end of that fence. Here are your possible motions. Staff recommends denial based on the hardship being self-imposed in other locations where the AC could be relocated without a variance, but those at the top are your available motions. So some of that is, are the applicants here, I believe, the Crenshaws, they can answer some of those questions, but I do believe they have spoken to some of their neighbors and their HOA about the situation, as there were some last minute word that was sent in by their HOA and some of their neighbors, I believe, last time, and they have changed their opinions as to exactly how they have decided that. You can ask the applicants.
Anybody else got any questions for staff before? Okay, all right, then I'd like to hear from the applicants.
Well, we brought letters from all the neighbors around us and the HOA. They've changed their mind. I don't know.
State your name.
Oh, Helen Crenshaw.
Freddie Crenshaw.
Oh, yeah. I see, I've got one here myself. I got one from the HOA. I got one from the Adams family. I got one from the, from Laurel Daniel, who is in full support, and one from Mark and Wendy Wilson on Bruce Drive.
Steve Dimitri.
Ma'am?
And Steve Dimitri is the other one?
I ain't got that yet. Yeah, there's one here.
Okay.
They are in support. So, back to my question, what happened with the trying to berm it up and?
Well, when I went home and measured, it's got to be 15 inches off of where the power box is. So I measured 15 inches from there. And from that point forward, we have these air vents under the house. So if we brought all the dirt up, it would cover up those air vents.
We've got pictures here if you'd like to see it.
Pictures of the air vents?
Yes.
What's the possibility of relocating the flood vents?
Or the AC compressor?
I don't know how to get this to you, but
There they are, shown on the picture there.
pardon me?
Your foundation vents are shown there on that picture.
Right. So you'd have to go 15 inches to the left of the power box that we're going to have to relocate. And when I called Dave Carver to see if we could put bricks around it to support it, he said no, it would have to be a natural incline and a natural decline. In order to do that, you'd have to start the incline here and have it level enough for the air conditioner and then start the decline. Well, you get into 2 air vents anywhere along the side of the house.
What's the distance that this thing needs to be raised? Did you say 15 inches?
No, I think it's like 11 inches.
11 inches?
11 inches because of the elevation of the house, because it just has to be above flood, correct?
Right, it has to be, yeah.
So what's the
I have a
possibility of
question.
adding another flood vent or, deleting one that's in the way and adding it further down or moving a flood vent to
Well,
accommodate?
I mean, the air conditioner is this big, okay? So to get enough dirt up 11 inches, then you've got to start way out here to have it. What I'm afraid of is if we don't have it big enough, it's going to rain and destroy it.
Question here. So, Mr. Edgy and I are sitting here talking, and we have 3 builders on this committee, and we're always thinking. And Mr. Edgy comes up with an idea, how about putting a bulkhead in front of those vents to allow them to continue to vent, and then put the dirt in front of the bulkhead. I mean, the bulkhead only has to come out 8 to 10 inches. Now, that might be a question for Mr. Carver, if that's allowable to do this.
One other solution for the 2 vents in question, you got 8 by 16 vents and you don't gain, and I don't understand this, never will. Smart vents, you get 200 square inches per vent. If you terminated those 2 vents and added one smart vent to the left or right of that, you're going to gain more square inches than you had with these 2 vents anyway. And the smart vents are there about $200.
They fit in the same space.
And they fit in the same space. I mean, you would cover these 2 vents up where no dirt could get under the house. Just to the left or right of it, remove one of the other vents and slip a smart vent in, and you would still have adequate coverage for your square inches required for flood.
You follow what he's saying?
Yeah, yes. I mean, Here's my question. Is there a problem to put it on an 11-inch platform since nobody around us has any problem with it? Is that a problem?
Personally, I've got an issue with the entire unit being in the setback. If we were, only encroaching a portion of the unit, but the fact that the house is 7-1 off the line already, so the entire unit's going to have to be in the setback on an alley that is actively used by other houses for their primary access to their garages.
Everybody wants to put stuff in the setback. If we allow everybody to put stuff in the setback, we'd be a line around this courthouse, people wanting to do it.
Okay, no, but I guess here's my question. You're saying we can bring dirt in and put a smart vent in and put it in the setback without a variance, correct?
Because it'd be on grade.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so I guess what I'm confused about is if we can do that, why can we not just put it on an 11-inch platform?
You'll have to take that up with the people who make the rules.
Oh, I thought y'all voted on that.
We don't make the rules, we just have to follow them.
Okay, I don't know.
But we're giving you an option to do this to where you wouldn't really need a variance.
Okay.
So I guess that was a question period for the applicant there. Do y'all have any comments about this? Or is there any public comments about this?
Mr. Carver, can you approach and answer or shed any light on this?
Dave Carver with the Building Department. They're not air vents, they're flood vents, and there's requirements that they have to have flow access for water that would be flowing through in a flood event. So if we bulkhead those up, the water will not, more than likely, won't be able to go over the bulkhead, back down and through like it's designed to do.
Gotcha. Okay.
Building the berm is the easiest thing to do. You could block off one of the vents, like you said. If they need the square inches for the flood requirements on their elevation certificate and insurance, they could eliminate or take out 2 other flood vents that probably do not meet the 200 square inches in that little hole and put smart vents in, which allow 200 square inches of flow. But that's an additional $200
Sure.
per vent cost,
Yeah. Plus the labor to put it
plus
in.
labor to put it in.
And one thing maybe just to clarify for them, if I kind of understand, the difference in allowing the air conditioner can go in the setback if it's on grade.
Grade, yes.
But if you have to build a structure for it to sit on, then that's why you're here in front of us, is because that requires the variance. So we're trying to help you to not have to build that structure. If you build the structure, then it has to come before us and we have to approve the variance. If you put it on grade, which is what's been suggested by building the berm, you don't need the variance to do that. And that's just the way the rules are written. And that correct?
Nothing elevated can be in the setbacks.
So does that help?
Unless it's on natural grade.
Kind of explain what we're looking at?
So we're offering a loophole by being able to put a little berm up there. And that's planning and zoning. That has nothing to do with the building department. That's in the ordinance.
Or they do make air compressors that hang on the wall.
Well, even if it's hanging on the wall, it cannot exceed into the only thing that can extend into a setback is the soffit of the house by 18 inches without a variance.
Are there other options to put it on the back of the house or up on the roof anywhere or relocate it to the opposite side?
No, the only other choice is to put it on the front of the house, but that's right by the headboard of our bed, so that's not really an option. We're gonna put a garage to the right, that's why we're trying to do all this.
They can't go behind the garage?
Well, then it's gonna be so far from the house, I'm not even sure it would air condition the house.
They have, generally you can put them about 50 feet from the air handler.
If they have adequate flood vents to where they can eliminate one, then they wouldn't even have to worry about adding any smart vents. So I don't know what their square footages are and their square inches of their openings. But we can definitely look at that, if that's an option, to where they can do their berm. Supposed to have 1 square inch of flood vent opening flow per square foot of footprint of your house.
We have a survey here, or a elevation certificate.
It should have the number of flood vents and openings that are legal.
The house is 1,313 square feet. Number of flood openings is 7. I don't see that on here. Total net area of flood opens 0. This is on another page. It says you got 581 square inches of flood vents, which is substantially lower than code allows, right?
Yeah, it's about 60% of what they need, or 40% of what they need.
So they have to be doing something with the flood vents anyway, aren't they?
At this point, they don't have to do anything. That's between them and their insurance company, as far as their prices on their policies. But if they don't have the required amount of flood vent openings.
And they're not doing over 50%?
Pardon?
And they're not doing over 50%?
The work? No, we're talking about, because this is in the scope of work, that's why it's got to be elevated. The flood vents don't do anything with the scope of work.
You mean it's over 50, if they are doing a project that's of over 50% of the value of the existing property, they don't have to bring it up into compliance?
We don't inspect flood vents.
Oh, you don't?
No, that's on the surveyor and the insurance company.
Okay. Well, any more discussion?
When was this house built? I don't think there was flood vents required back in 1962. So,
No, they're just
So-
air vents.
Based on 62, yeah, they're probably air vents.
yeah, probably were air vents. Okay.
Ask my builder colleagues here in terms of the concept of the I guess, tell me if I'm wrong, or help me with it. If the heat pump is in the back of the house, the air handle is in the house, what's the distance from that to that would make it inefficient? It seemed like the Crenshaws had a concern with, if we put it there, then it's not going to be efficient for the house.
According to my guy that I talked to, my HVAC guy, he says about 50 feet is the max you want to run a condensate a line set.
How far?
50 feet.
50 feet.
So I don't know where I mean, if the unit on the inside of the house is in the front of the house, and they're going to try to put it on the back side of that new garage, that's not going to work. It's too far.
It would be a drop in efficiency.
I mean, yeah, it needs to run efficiently, so it needs to be 50 feet or less.
Okay.
And if it's an older unit, it'd be more detrimental.
And you can't go on the west side of the house? Anywhere?
I thought I read somewhere, and I can't find it again, so I don't know. Did you, Mr. and Ms. Crenshaw, did you not choose to do the dirt because that was just your choice? I thought I read somewhere where it said that you didn't do it because it was the owner's choice not to do that. Yeah. Okay. I understand that. It's just that when I worked with this at home, I made a note that that's what I had read, but maybe I was confused. Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Okay, any more discussion?
So as Mr. Carver says, these are air vents, they're not flood vents. So if you cover up two, you're not breaking any codes. I mean, that's just. Yeah, well, I mean, you could add them back somewhere else, and do that. I mean, we're just trying to help you out here in the event that we vote no. So, I mean, if you understand what I'm saying? So, I mean, if you agree to do the elevation change, then it's all said and done.
I'd rather you just vote. I don't think the dart's gonna work, but y'all just vote and move forward.
Okay?
All right, well, Chair will entertain a motion. Let's see, we have three motions here suggested by by staff.
I move to deny.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion to deny. Shall we vote? All in favor of the motion? Raise your right hand. All opposed?
Well, I'm opposing it. I want you to be able to do it because I feel for you. And I think we've got a solution if you did move your foundation vent. So I guess with that, I'm going to change mine to deny, but I would not have a problem doing it if you did it on the berm. So I'm going to change my vote to deny.
Okay. All right, on to number 2. This is number ZV4448, located at 4109 9th Street. Consider request for a variance to Glenn County zoning ordinance, section 720, to allow for encroachment into the front yard setback for a new 1,500 square foot industrial building. The property is zoned general industrial and located at 4109 9th Street, parcel ID 0312476. Jamal D. Nobles is owner applicant. I would like to hear from staff regarding this.
Maurice Postal again with the Planning and Zoning Division. The applicant is requesting a variance from the front setback requirements from the general industrial zoning section, section 720.4, to put in a new 1,500 square foot industrial building. The background of this is currently a commercial parking lot and vehicle towing business. There's a small shed on the site, but no other structures. As previously said, the owner wants to put a 30 by 50, 1,500 square foot building for the storage and service of the vehicles. He will have to apply for site plan approval, of course, and get a commercial building permit. This 0.58 acre flag lot was created by deed, not by plat, back in 1970. And the county subdivision ordinance wasn't even enacted until 1976. The minimum lot size in GI zoning is 3 acres, so the lot is legally non-conforming in this zoning district. And the front setback requirement for GI is 50 feet, so the applicant is asking for an encroachment of 43 feet into the front setback. But when the lot was created in 1970, the front setback requirement for GI zoning was 20 feet, and there was no setback requirement for the other 3 property lines. And the current GI zoning setbacks were enacted in 1983. So the zoning ordinance says to measure a front setback in a flag lot, it establishes the front setback requirements on the portion of the lot that excludes the flagpole portion of the flag lot, which is the access strip or the driveway. And we can see that on here, this gray area, when establishing setbacks, is completely removed. So the front setback is measured from this line. And the 50-foot front setback, that would be this red line here. So when you add in the 20 feet setbacks from the other property lines, it doesn't really leave much area to put in a 1,500 square foot building, if at all. I mean, you would need a pretty good surveyor to try to find that spot. So the applicant is requesting to put the building 7 feet from the property line. And this aerial shows the other surrounding lots right here. They all pretty much have a similar configuration. There's a structure off to the side and then an open area for parking of vehicles. So the applicant's building would be right here, and he would park vehicles in here. And this is a picture of the property line. This is the applicant's property here, and this is his immediate neighbor to the east, and this is the little shed that he's currently have on the property. And your possible motions are allow with conditions, deny, or postpone, and we're recommending approval.
Any questions for staff? I got one. What did you say, could you tell me what were the setbacks when he initially bought the property?
Well, when he bought the property, it was the current setbacks, 50 feet and then 20, but when the lot was created in 70, it was a 20-foot front setback and no setbacks on the other property lines.
Okay. All right, any more questions for staff? Okay, okay, hear from the applicant? The applicant, somebody representing the applicant?
He's present. Just state your name before you speak.
Okay. Jamal Noble Sr. Do I have any questions?
How long have you owned this property?
I bought it back in 2016.
Okay. I'm assuming your neighbors are okay with this? Have you
Yeah.
talked to them about it?
Yeah. Oh, well, I didn't talk to you. But I've talked with Matt Johnson and another neighbor, Darren Fowler, about it.
And they're okay?
They were okay with it. I haven't talked to Mr. Shelnut passed away. I haven't talked to his daughter.
Okay.
That's okay.
Sure.
Wait a minute.
Hold on.
Wait just a second. We'll finish with him and then you'll have your time. Well, any more questions for the applicant?
No.
Actually, I do have one question.
Well, yeah, I have one too.
Go ahead, Dan. Go ahead, Dan.
Well, noticing, are you buying a pre-engineered metal building, or are you buying one that is built on site like in a day or so? You understand what I'm asking?
Yeah, I understand. I was looking at like probably an engineered building, something like.
Well,
with
the
thicker gauge.
reason I asked that question is because I build metal buildings too, and my erectors despise, they always look at me and say, you don't have me any room to work in the back. So you got 7 feet between there and the fence, which makes it difficult for them to get machinery in there to stand up the red iron and then screw the panels into it. So, I mean, is there a way you could move it just a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, that's
I mean,
proposed, but I
don't-
wouldn't mind moving it, a little bit further.
And that's actually kind of what I was going to ask Eddie, because the staff actually recommended setback between 10 and 15. I mean, if we grant this, obviously we're granting a pretty substantial, infraction. We're talking about 43 feet in.
Right.
If you can give us 3 to get us to the 10 foot, I would be on board with it. The one suggestion I would have would be slightly move the building, I guess that's north, a little further to the southwest. So basically down and away, and that should still give you enough room around the northwest corner to still access your vehicles and
Right.
and get around, and then give us that 10 feet on that, up toward the Woody Shelnut property,
Yeah.
would be my suggestion.
Right. Yeah, looking at all the other properties around the area, like their buildings is like on the fence. I mean, like like right next to me, Mr. Bo Foz. If you look at like 2 parcels down, his building is like, he got like 2 or 3 inches off the property line.
Yeah, some of them look like they're over.
Yeah, and then if you look to the right, where Matt Johnson, he just purchased, which used to be Mr. Shellnuts, his property is like directly on the line as well. I mean, his building is directly on the line.
Yeah, our report said nothing there
Yeah.
met the setback requirements.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But I'm on board with Cliff, what he said, if you could move it another 3 feet,
Yeah,
give it additional space, I think we might have a deal.
yes, sir.
Question for building inspection. If he does this, are you gonna make him have to have a survey because of,
As long as we can verify, Carver Building Department, as long as we can verify the corners and the
Yeah.
strings ran, and we can make sure that it is applicable to what the requirements are here, we should not need a survey.
okay, cool.
As long as we can have the corners marked and strings pulled,
All right.
so we can get an accurate measurement, which would be easy to do.
Yeah, well, I've seen the survey, so, I just meant whenever the building gets, the foundations, are they gonna make, yeah, a lot of times when there's a real close tolerance with the setbacks or whatever. What's that?
If you want to speak, you need to come to
Yeah.
the podium and say your name and all that good stuff. But I'd rather reserve public comment.
My name is Sam Assad. I'm a land surveyor. I'm the one who did the plat. And by the way, the building next door is 7 feet, less than 7 feet off the fence. It's less
Could
than-
you repeat your name again, sir?
My name is Sam Assad. I work for Copeland and Associates.
Okay. And so the building we're looking at, the Woody Shellnut building that you said somebody's bought,
The existing building on the right side is less than 7 feet off the property line.
okay.
And all the corners are already marked.
Corners of the property, of the building?
Oh, the building, we can, if y'all want to go with the 10 feet, I can go and put the existing building to be 10 feet of the property line, that's fine.
So I mean, what we're saying is, a lot of times building inspection, when there's a close proximity to a line, they will make us do a survey after the foundation is laid out to make sure that it's okay. I don't think in this case we need to do that, do we, Mr. Carver?
No, sir, as long as we can verify it's where it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Normally, if it's within 12 inches of any setback, we require a foundation survey to assure that it is not any closer into the setbacks. But we're getting a variance for the setback on this case, so as long as we can verify if it's going to be set at 10, if we can verify that it's at 10 feet on site, then we will not need a survey because the setback doesn't matter at that point.
Yeah,
We're going to be measuring exactly from the property line, and that's where you need to be set forth right here. So we already know that ahead of time. So if you're right at 10 feet or 10 feet 1 inch, we're going to be fine.
Yeah, once I put the 4 corners, your building inspector, it's,
All we need is the 2 corners.
Sam, is the fence on the property line?
yes,
It is dead on the property line?
no, it's off the line to
On-
the
on whose
neighbor
side?
like 2 feet
On whose side?
on the neighbor.
On the neighbor side?
Yeah, he went off like 1.5 or 2 feet on his side.
Okay.
So we'll
Now,
not-
from
we'll
the
not-
end, from the north end, it's almost dead on the line. I'm talking about where is the building is gonna be.
So it won't interfere with the stream.
No, we're just gonna go off the property line 10 feet. We're not going by the fence, we're going by the property line.
Okay.
All right, any more questions for the applicant and his surveyor? Okay, is there anybody, any public comments, anybody in the public here for or against? Did you want to say something, ma'am? If you're going to say something, you need to get up and say you are and all that. You're okay? Okey-dee, any discussions from any of you folks? think we've already had enough discussion, and I'd like to entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to move it down, get it up, get 10 feet off the property line, and approve with that condition.
Okey-doke.
I'll second.
And we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous.
You have your variance.
Have your variance, sir. Okay, third one. This is item ZV 4449. Located at 212 Beachside Drive. Consider a request for a variance to Glenn County zoning ordinance section 702 to allow an encroachment into the side and front yard setbacks for an accessory building. The subject property is zoned R12, one-family residential, located at 212 Beachside Drive on Blythe Island, parcel ID 03-06562. Missy Huarby is the owner and the applicant. Could I hear from staff? I don't know if I got that name right. Could we hear from staff on this one?
Eli, Planning and Zoning. So as you said, this is ZV 4449. It is a request to a variance to both the front and side yard setbacks of 8 feet into the front setback, which is required 20 feet, and an encroachment of 3 feet into the required 7-foot yard side setback. The applicants have stated that this accessory building will be used as in the plans it's labeled as a cookhouse. It would be an enclosed building with cooking appliances, things of that nature, no bedrooms or anything like that. Now, the applicant did submit an original plan, and then they did revise the plan once they realized that they are also encroaching onto the front setback to minimize.
Run it by me again?
The applicants revised their original plan that they submitted to staff to minimize the footprint, to make it smaller so it would not be encroaching as much.
Do we have, is that what we're looking at, or?
That is what I will show you in right here. Now, this is the survey that was prepared that shows that design. I have a zoomed in shot. The dotted lines you see there are their setbacks. The dotted line that extends further in on the left side is their front setback, and the dotted line on the right side is the 7-foot side yard setback. And the dotted line on the top side is the actual 15-foot development setback because they are fronting on the river, but they are not encroaching into that. They are just encroaching into the front and side. The encroachment is about 8 feet on this side here and 3 feet here at the deepest point. This is the accessory building, the concept plan. The actual dimensions for this were on the original plans they made. They had not had time to revise what the inside would look like to exact dimensions with the revised building size, but this is generally what they are planning on doing, and once they have a smaller footprint potentially approved.
Okay, anybody got any questions for staff?
No, I do not.
Go back to that site plan. No, the one previous to that, one other way.
Just those two.
One more. The next one. Right there. What is the dimension of that? Is that say 16 by
15. Now,
just not the scale, okay.
yes, as I said, that they put the new dimensions on there, but that was the original plan before they downsized the structure. I included this in the presentation just to show what would be going inside the building,
Okay,
what it would be
okay.
used for.
All right, thank you.
Could you go back, I wouldn't mind if you went back to that site, but just for that, now, could you explain that you got a 7-foot setback there on the perpendicular to the river, and
Yes.
then it jumps back to a 20-foot setback after it goes around that angle?
Because there's you take the setback at a 90-degree angle from that corner, the front setback jumps down immediately instead of sloping because of just the angle that property line goes to at that corner, because it slopes in. So if you take the front property line and you take a 90-degree line, that is exactly where the front ends, and then it jogs down to the side. That is
So
just due,
because since that line has an angle in it, that goes from front to side right there?
yes, and that is just due to the shape of the lot.
Uh-huh. Okay. And that 15, 16, that represents, that's the orientation they want to,
The 1516 is the dimensions of the building. The 4-foot and the 7-foot there is the, that shows the side setback and how much they'd be encroaching on the side. I believe I cut out the dimensions for the front on accident, but it is an 8-foot encroachment for that corner of the building.
okay.
Was a, you said they reduced the dimensions once. In
Yes.
terms of the continuum of size, did they ever create the scale to fit their property? Like what that would be? It just, I've been struggling with this since I went out and looked at the property, and beautiful area, and then I'm coming back and I'm saying, they got 14,800 square feet there on that property, and I'm going to be having to decide at the meeting, throw my vote one way or another, that they need to take some of the setback when they've got 14,810 square feet of property there. And so now that you said that and one of my thoughts was, I didn't understand the property layout enough to play with it myself in terms of like, okay, that's a great concept, beautiful area. What size cookhouse would fit there? If they couldn't, did they do that? Like, hey, we really want this cookhouse, and if we're denied, we're still going to do it, and this is the size it's going to be. I was just wondering if that was shared so that we, like I said, it's just giving me some consternation.
That might be a question for the applicant.
Yes, the
All right.
applicant can answer.
I don't know if it was discussed with him or not.
The applicant can answer most of that, I believe. I will say, when you're looking at it from the road, because the size of the road width is not very large there, their property line is much farther back from the road than you would expect. So visually, there is a kind of gap between where the right-of-way ends and where the property line starts. I don't have a clear imagery, but that is part of what your question was, because the road slopes away and the right-of-way keeps on going straight. The gap there is larger visually than it is on the plan.
Okay. Any more questions for staff? Okay, thanks. I'd like to hear from the applicant here.
Good morning, I'm Misty Warby.
And I'm Jose Warby. Good morning.
Okay, well, I guess you could explain to the board why it is that you want to encroach in the setback?
So we started, it's sort of been like a stepwise thing, so we came and asked some questions. There's an existing piece of concrete that you can see there with a sidewalk that I guess was grandfathered in, right? When we bought the property, it sits there. If you see beyond the building, that's concrete out there. So our original question was, we want to put a cookhouse, put it out back. So can we just put a roof here? Like, could we put it there? Because the concrete pad's there. But there's some problems there because of the seawall, the bulkhead, those kind of things, right? So it involves, I guess, half involves DNR and then half would involve a 15-foot setback that they told me I had to have off the seawall. See what I mean? So that's where we started. So then we were like, well, where else can we put it here? And really, until we had it surveyed, like he's saying, it looks like we would have more room than we do. Once we actually saw where the setbacks were, then we started kind of shrinking it down to still be able to get it there and, just find a viable spot that it could go without busting up that existing concrete.
And if I may, but to address the issue of 14,000 square foot in the backyard, when you look at it, just like Eli said, it looks like we have a lot of yard, but the house has a thermal AC unit where all the pipes are running on the bottom, right in the backyard. So we can't do any
on
concrete, we
top
can't
of it.
put anything there. So all we're asking is for from that 7 foot is to bring it back 3 foot to be able to make it perpendicular to the, and we are going to make it smaller, but we just wanted to get that actual setback
made
first
it
because
smaller
there's.
to the 16,
Right,
15.
but there's nowhere else on the property because of the size of or the angle of the property to build it. If we go to the actual front, no one puts a cookhouse in front of their home, where the front door is, and the only access where we normally hang out with our family is right down there, and it's not gonna be a full enclosed building. The building that is showing the 15-foot where the arrow is showing 7, that's gonna be a enclosed wall. The side where the 16-foot is gonna have 2 open, kind of like Bahama windows, and the side facing the sidewalk and the platform are gonna be only a 4-foot wall, wide open.
Open.
So it's gonna be like a half enclosed. The only thing we're gonna have in there, we would like a sink, which you saw in the actual plans that we put on there, and that's pretty much it, and some.
So I saw, well, two things. DNR will not let you put that on the concrete pad?
Well, what we asked, and they said like half of that would be a question for DNR. But then my question for this for the office was, so if I get permission from DNR, because I was willing to go ask since it's already sitting there.
Yeah.
But then I think something comes into play for the other half of that concrete, then has to fall to the 15-foot setback. So it really wouldn't do me any good, because if DNR said I can build on this little 4 foot, or I mean half, so whatever half of
Right.
26 is, yeah.
And that platform basically used to be a cookhouse back in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
And the dock goes out to there. It's just a platform
Sure,
without
yeah.
a cookhouse, and you walk right onto the dock. So it's
So if we-
already, all we wanted to do was to be able to put some posts, to be able to put a roof and just kind of do what we wanted to do. But because of the 15-foot setback from the seawall, we were told that we couldn't do that. That's why we're here today.
You were told by who that you couldn't do that? The staff or DNR?
By
The
staff.
staff.
We didn't go to DNR because they said that we would only be able to build on, if DNR gave us permission on their half,
Yeah.
Which is 6 feet, then we wouldn't be able to build on the other 18 feet, which is in our yard as it is right now.
right.
I'm not quite understanding, maybe it's because they don't have a big enough survey, but it looks like to me that the whole pad is beyond the 15-foot setback. Is that correct?
I'm not sure the answer to
The
that.
whole pad, the existing concrete pad is beyond the 15-foot
Yes,
setback.
that's true.
Yes,
And it's there already,
And it
true.
looks like it extends beyond the property line, so the part beyond the property line, I guess you're saying that's DNR's part.
right.
Right, that's what they told us, that beyond the bulkhead maybe would be DNR's question.
Yeah.
What's the new pad? Is it going to be actually a concrete pad at the same elevation as what the walkway and everything is?
It's got to come up higher
Gotta
to
come up.
meet
FEMA.
above sea level,
Okay.
yeah. It's got to come up higher.
How high?
How high?
2 feet,
I think,
3 feet?
3 feet. We had to get it surveyed to see how much it would have to come up, so 3 feet. I'm sorry,
You
Sam.
know his name, don't we?
So you're going to elevate this cookhouse 3 feet?
It's gonna be, the county requirements is a 1 foot above the FEMA requirements.
Yes.
FEMA requirements 89, so it's gonna be 10. The existing elevation of the ground right now is 7.
Okay.
So you're
That
gonna have,
existing pad, concrete pad is, the staff will deny it, even if the DNR will allow them to do whatever, but because you have to set back 15 feet of the property line, not from the seawall.
Okay.
Okay.
You got to be 15 feet off that line. That's the county requirements. And that building, existing building, the square that you see, the 15 by, is 15 feet setback off the property line.
Dave Carver, Building Department. Only reason it's got to be elevated to the design flood elevation, which is AE plus the freeboard,
Yeah.
because they're going to have plumbing in it.
is what?
Because they're going to have plumbing. Plumbing has to be above flood. Any new design, anyway.
Where is the plumbing waste going to go?
Well, we're not, It's just a sink, and there's already plumbing and then pretty much electrical coming from the dock there, everything as it is now. And all we want to do is put a sink in the middle, so that's where we would have to get with the building department and see how to do that.
I guess specifically the question is that going to be a gray water tank, or is it going to be tied into the sewer, or is it just going to be free dumped out in the yard?
I haven't seen the plans, I just know it's gonna have plumbing, so if it's gonna have plumbing, it's gotta be above flood. Where they designed to put the waste, it's gonna be gray water.
Yes, that's it. There's nothing else there.
I'm sure it's septic tank out there.
Gray water can go into the river, can it? Legally?
I can't answer that question.
That's what I was told, but I don't,
Well, yes, it can, if I may, it can, because our dock has a sink as well. So when we use, it basically drains into the river anyway. And all the docks in that area pretty much have the same thing.
Yeah.
Here's just one question. Would it be possible to possibly shift it? And I'm certainly not 100% opposed to it, but would it be possible to shift it, I guess that would toward your walkway, just to reduce one of the encroachments? Granted, the walkway is there. Can we go over part of that walkway and then, reroute your walkway around that corner? Is that, just so we, if we could at least reduce the one encroachment on this one side, the front setback, that's just a weird situation just because of the way the property is shaped. I get that.
right.
But if we could reduce the one on the side, I certainly would be.
Well, if you twist it, you're gonna get more into the other setback.
I'm not talking about twisting, I'm talking about shifting it straight
Oh, I see.
that direction, just to reduce this 4 foot in the bottom right-hand corner, just to reduce that encroachment.
Well, then you're gonna get over the sidewalk.
That's what I'm saying. Can we go over the sidewalk a little bit and then reconfigure the sidewalk to go,
Around it?
go around it?
Or reconfigure the building so it only encroaches into one sidewalk.
I would think if you
I mean, one setback.
twisted the building to be more parallel with the sidewalk, you get out of that side setback, or that front setback, I guess it is. And then going up 3 feet, you could put your stairs on top of the sidewalk and go up from the sidewalk to get into the building, to access the building. Does that make any sense?
well, can I just, if you twist the building, you're gonna be encroaching on the 15 feet setback.
I realize that. It's already encroaching on the 15-foot setback, isn't it?
No.
No, sir.
Sit on the 15 foot. That line that goes to the left, up northwest, that is the 15-foot setback.
I think he's talking about pivoting it on that, if you go back to that slide, on the corner, which would be, I guess, the,
Greg, the top left corner, if you pivoted at that point and rotated around, is that a possibility?
You see what we're saying, Sam? Is that a possibility?
Well, it depends, if we twist the building, we have to bring the building back. We have to make sure we're not gonna encroach on the 15 foot. That's kind of one.
yeah, he's talking about on the top left corner there where it touches that setback, to pivot at that point and get it out of the 7-foot setback. In fact, pivot around where it's parallel to the 7-foot setback. Then you're only dealing with one setback.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. If we twist the building, we can go with the 15, so the only way to do that is to come back, and we're gonna encroach more on the 20-foot setback.
Well, yeah, but I guess what Cliff is saying is that it's kind of arbitrary where it changes from 7 to 20 there.
Yeah.
And if that angle was different.
That's a major problem, but we have to follow the rules. 7 foot from that sideline and 20 on the front.
Yeah, if you could twist it on that top left corner where where it ends up coming parallel.
Yeah.
I mean, you may have to change the dimensions a bit, but it'd be,
Yeah, it
you
would
may
be
have
a little bit more
to,
than
it'd be
that, but
parallel
it
to the
also-
7-foot setback line.
Yeah.
Just for me personally, I would rather see a little bit more of an encroachment on the front setback, because that is kind of a weird situation, the way the lot cuts off.
Do,
can do a slab on grade.
Well, I'm not talking about, no, we're not talking about that. No.
You're missing our point.
I'm talking about the front. Yeah.
Yeah, do we have a laser pointer? You see where the arrow is pointing down towards the 15? You see where I'm talking about? If you took that whole wall right there and made it parallel with the sidewalk,
No,
And you're gonna have a roof up
parallel with the setback,
when you're coming down from the. That's what I'm worried
yes,
Symmetry of all.
Right, because otherwise,
yes.
that's what we want to do.
Yeah, that works.
No, we're pivoting on the 15.
If you take, that's your pivot point right there. So that point remains where it is. This corner of the building goes this direction. That'll pull this corner back this way, which will clear this setback.
What's his name?
This point, because this line here is actually fading away, so that should clear and wind up being about right there.
You may have to change the dimension.
Mr. Woodman, can I say something just real quick?
Sure.
It's sort of like if you've been out to our property and kind of could go out there and look, we kind of looked at some of what y'all are saying about doing, but the way that that pad is already sitting there on the river and entering into the dock.
Right.
So if you start skewing around here, you're gonna bust up the sidewalk, and then you're gonna bring that roof because of that level, like where you come down from the house, then you're gonna start having that roof area. And you know what I mean? It's a funny look, kind of in my mind. And that's the only reason we sort of tried to skew it so that it sat, kind of looking at that pad that's already existing.
And on the right side of the pad there, where the seawall is,
Right here.
that's all, like, just a bunch of trees and everything, so we don't, we don't want to cut all that, because we don't have a view there, so that's the only reason why we made it perpendicular to that pad, so when you come out to cookhouse, you go right into the pad.
Okay.
Right.
That's where the actual view is from the corner, because the road comes around, and it's, like Eli said, the setback's pretty, it's only 7 feet in that little area, and then the rest is 20 feet, so we can't, and then on the left side of it, we have our driveway.
Okay.
So if we turn it, then our cars would be right next to that.
Well, we're kind of limited in what we can see on the property.
Right.
Survey.
No, you did exactly what I was thinking. So where are you gonna enter this thing from?
If we go back to the actual,
From the dock, from that pad side,
Oh, you're gonna enter it from the pad side?
right.
Okay.
So that's a 3-foot encroachment on that bottom right corner.
that is correct.
There's no way to adjust the dimension to get it off of that. It just seems like to me you could rotate it like we're talking about doing, and of course, when I rented the property, I looked and thought maybe it'd be nice to put it right behind where the garage is and make it a deck on top of it that you could go out on to, but I guess since you got the geothermal down there, you can't do
I
it.
can't do it.
And that was our original plan, but when we found out those pipes in there, you can't.
They run in that whole backyard.
The entire length of so we can't do that.
They're horizontal?
Well, we're not positive, but the people that came out said that they take a pretty big footprint.
So all the trees that are just kind of in bushes, all of that is staying, it's going just to the inside. I'm looking at it on Google Maps.
Right.
So all of those trees are to remain, so it's to be just in that grassy area between your parking and there.
I'm certainly not as technical as the other gentleman here, but I'll go back to the question that I misasked. I should be asking you. And one thing I'm staring at why people are saying shift this and that, maintaining that the integrity of that 15-foot wall, have you considered the building being 12 by 15? You want to put a sink, a refrigerator, ice machine, and a grill. If you had 12 by 15, doesn't that eliminate 4 feet? It does eliminate 4 feet on the 16-foot side. And wouldn't we move out, kind of like what you guys were doing with the pointer, so that you reduce it by 4 feet, you get out of that 7-foot piece, and you're moving it back to what people were talking about. 12 by 15, and you're only, it looks to me, I don't know, I guess, you'd only be chopping a small corner of that setback, and you're getting everything that you want. That's why I was asking if there had been like a minimum number that had been discussed, because I'm looking at it here. Sink, refrigerator, ice machine, and grill. 12 by 15, that's a pretty good chunk of square footage for it. And
If they come here first,
Yes,
and then,
on the side of it,
further that way.
when I go to the plans, the actual plan, on the, this one over here, 16. On the 16-foot, and here's the pad that we're talking about, we're gonna enter from here, and that was gonna be kind of like a half bar for seating, but that's why we wanted it in the beginning. We didn't know what the setbacks were, so we thought we had enough room, because from the actual street to where that setback starts, it's quite a good.
He's talking about the edge of pavement, the closest edge of pavement to the building would be like 40 feet away.
Right, so, so the reason why we didn't entertain anything smaller was because we also wanted seating for our family. You know, we got pretty large family when they come over, and we like to have them sit around in a 12 by 15 with that bar. Everything would not give us the room for what she would like to do as far as seating, things like that. Even though we wanted to use the pad for that, but when it gets, obviously, you've seen the,
Right.
please understand when I say that, I thought you got a beautiful piece of property out there.
Thank
It's
you.
very nice. And being the more of the lay guy here, I mean, when I look at process and numbers, one of the things I looked at right away is like, whoa, you're looking to get into the setback, you're looking to get into 40% of the setback. That's a chunk. 8 feet out of 20 is a chunk. And so that's why I was playing with the idea of, well, when I saw what you want to put in there, and then again, with these gentlemen being in the profession, I don't know if that, like, while 40% sounds large to me, I don't know if that's a big number when you're dealing with variances and setbacks and things like that. But being the lay guy, I'm saying, whoa, 40%, how about if we just shrunk that down a little bit and made it a little more palatable? And that's why I was asking about looking at the size of the building. So that's, I don't have much more to add than that.
You really stand on the road, and pavement, you'd be like, oh man, sure, you can do that. Because you feel like you're way away from
You need to go,
traffic, like I said, the closest edge of pavement, like 40 feet from the edge of the building, the closest edge of the building. Okay. But when you
All
get
right.
down to the numbers don't matter.
Okay, thanks, yeah.
All right, thank y'all.
okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, is there any,
I would like to make one comment. Mr. Minatelli, earlier you talked about the building being 16 by 12, I believe. They are encroaching 3 feet. I think you mixed it up earlier. They are encroaching 3 feet, not 4 feet. The plan you asked for to move them 4 feet, that is what you were talking about. I just wanted to clarify that number for you.
Did you say that I said 40 feet?
Earlier, when you said they could reduce the building size more, you said by 4 feet to bring them out of the setback. They're encroaching 3 feet. I just wanted to correct that number for you.
oh, so what he's saying is be 15 by 13.
Yeah, the 4 foot indicates the spacing that is currently there.
That's
So
left.
they're only inside about 3 feet.
No, I wasn't even referring to that 4. I was just taking a number. I was looking at the 16, the sidewall 16. I wouldn't even refer to the 4.
So if they
It
reduce
just happened when I came up and looking at it. When I looked at saying sink, refrigerator, ice machine, grill, 12 by 15, sounds like a pretty cool place out there, especially after looking at the property. And I'm saying, if you took 4 feet, regardless, I wasn't even paying attention to 4.0 on the bottom. I'm just saying if you reduce that large wall of 16 down to 12, and you kept the big, the large 15 side, then you had a building of 12 by 15.
Okay.
That's what I was referring to,
Yeah,
not the
but they
4 on
only
the
have to
bottom.
reduce it by 3 feet. So
What's
they only have to reduce it by.
Okay, then they don't have to reduce, that's what I'm saying, on lay guy, all right, you only reduce it by 3 feet. That was my initial question. You know, on the continuum, this is the minimum that, you know, to get, and this is what we're really asking for if we get the variance. And I was just trying to see if that had been discussed, that's all.
But y'all aren't, where's the owners? You're not willing to reduce it by 3 feet?
Can't,
Can it come, I have to ask you. So if you reduce it by 3, you're saying on this side, but leave the variance on the other side the same, come in 3 feet this way, so then can I go 3 feet the other way, or does that encroach? I just keep running into encroachments that I wasn't aware of. I mean, you know what I mean, with the seawall and the different things. So then can it go 3 feet more? Could it be the same size, but just slid over a tiny bit that way, or does it make it encroach?
Depend on building design. If you cut off the 3 feet there, you wouldn't be encroaching on the side, but then you'd have it.
But then I'd be running 3 feet over, that makes the roof come up. That's my concern, is like, then what does that do over here where this existing sidewalk is? Because that's where you come out of my house. You see what I mean? Like, I'm not sure how the building then runs into that if I slide it over. That was the whole
If you could
problem.
just change the 16-foot dimension to 13 foot, you'd get out of the 7-foot setback.
Can I make a comment? You're either pregnant or you're not. We're encroaching on the setbacks or we're not encroaching on them. So either we got to get out of it, I mean, meaning I'm fine with it the way it sits. So like I say, you're either pregnant or you're not. I mean, there's not an in-between. So we either going to get all the way out of the setbacks or we're going to be in the setbacks. With that said, if we go to 30% in your encroachment versus 40%, we're not gaining anything. And the way your property's set up, it's a unique situation. We went yesterday, and it doesn't impede any traffic. I don't have a problem with the way it's, what it's looking like. So I kind of think we're splitting hairs at this point.
I would tend to agree, just given on that corner and the road pulls away, it is kind of an open area. Nobody's going to build there. I kind of tend to agree with his statement as well.
Okay, thanks. Is there any public comment regarding this? Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we approve ZV 4449 to allow the encroachment into the required yard setback.
Second.
And Mr. Menezes, all right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay.
Thank y'all.
Okay, so I think that's it, isn't it? Okay. Here's no other business. The meeting is adjourned.